And we're back in the workshop, back with the A250 inside so that we can continue on from the last A250 episode when everything that could go wrong with the sunroof did, including this. This little bit just broke off. Yep. The sunroof curtain cables, one of the ends from the driver's side broke just as we were ready to put everything back in. So I had to order the replacements and they have arrived since. And these actually have metal ends. They're actually an improved. They're definitely aftermarket, but they're far better in this cast alloy by the looks of it than plastic ones. So what else are we going to get done in the episode? I don't know. We'll just find out when we get to the end. But first of all, let's talk about wheels. Team, when it comes to wheels, that can make or break the look of a car. Now, as I said in the first video, the back wheels, the whole design of them looks fantastic. They're actually 19-inch wheels. The fronts are the original 18-inch wheels. Now, I wanted to put 19s all the way around. I've been hunting for ages, and I've always been missed out on the ones that I thought might have been good, or they just were the wrong size. As in width for the fronts. They were just miles too big. So I do have these 18-inch rims here. I think they look fantastic. They're a very similar design to the ones on the back. They are 18-inch and I'm going to be happy with that simply because they look great. There are 225s all the way around on these particular rims. They're only 8-inch deep, so I'm going to see what's the maximum width I can get for two of them. So I may actually change them out because I don't really want 225s on the back. The really fat tires on the back looks really good. So I'm going to quickly show you these rims, and then they're actually going to get sent off to be powder coated in a nice gloss black by that awesome company, A Steel Powder Coaters. So let's have a look. As you can see, or you should be able to see, just getting really close, is these have actually been sanded before. So they're a little rough over. And so I'm going to go over it very carefully before I send them off to be recoated. These have been painted. You can clearly see that they were obviously silver in the first place. I'm not even, yeah, these will be alloy. But with the look that's on these compared to the back, they're very, very similar. So they're going to look fantastic. So now that these have arrived, we're going to take the glass off. It's just sitting here at the moment. We're going to install the new sunroof curtain rail cables, put them in, get the actual panoramic roof, sliders, mechanisms back in place, get the glass back on, get it screwed on, see that it all works, and then after that, hopefully, well, we'll get the car up, we'll get the wheels off, get the bumper off, get the fender off, and we'll go from there. Now, simply because I'm going to pull this cable and the other one out, I need to know whereabouts they need to go into. So I've simply put a bit of masking tape on here, then I can pull those out, line them up with the new cables, put masking tape on those, and get them in line. So to get the sunroof cables out, it's the same as the rails for the actual roof. We've just got to take this motor off, and then the cables will be free, and then we can just pull them out, put the new ones in, put this back in place, and that should be it done. So out with the two screws that hold the motor to the roof of the car, and then it's as simple as pulling the two cables out nice and easy. So I've simply put on tape to match the original ones to the new ones. The ends are lined up, brought down, taped. Now let's throw them in.
And it's just the exact opposite of what we've just done. Now I have sprayed both the cables with silicone lubricant so that they do move a bit easier once they're in. And I've got to make sure that the ends are facing the right way up so the cables don't twist. One side's in, using the tape as the measurement, then straight over to the other side, making sure it goes into the right pipe and getting it in right up to where it needs to go. They're in. I've made sure that these are pointing up so they're not trying to twist when they're sliding it through the actual sunroof mechanisms, so they're all good. We'll put the motor back on inside and we're good to go. Now again, this is just the exact opposite. Putting the motor back in place, it really goes in quite easy, and then just returning the 2 Torx screws in, not over tightening them though. Now we're going to take the motor to the panoramic roof out of the way so we can get the actual mechanisms back in, because you can't do it with the motor in the way. The cables need to be slid in. Now, really important that the sunroof cable goes in as well, because it's too hard to put in afterwards. Those actual little steel rods that you saw, the steel pipes, actually slide into the ends of these black roof mechanisms. That's what I was then trying to line up, and it just, obviously they're a little bit loose, and then you just got to line them up together, get them slightly in, and then on the end here is this original screw that I put back in place so I wouldn't lose it. Now I'm going to use the original bracket that came off to line these up so you can see the little extra bits that are on there. They then stick through the actual bracket, which hold it in place. And once that's in, back in with the little screw, and that is that locked into position. Now it's just the roof screws underneath that'll go in later. Now that one side's done, I already now know what I'm doing. It's a lot easier to do this side and work out how to do it, and it was a lot quicker. So they're in. Now we're going to put the 4 screws on either side in. I've pushed the front of the A-frame for the glass rail at the front for this one, because that's where we broke them in the first place. Well, I broke them. So this one here, I'm literally just going to slide forward to this edge here, because yeah, just in line with the edge of this. That's what I've done with the other side. So just so they're basically equally with each other, and I should be able to get the screws in at the front. So that's what I'm hoping. Let's put the 4 screws in either side, lock it down. Then we're going to put in front wind detector, wind deflector. Woo! But before we do that, let's put the motor back in place. Now once the screws to the motor are back in and that's in place, we then start putting in the actual roof mechanism screws. All 8 screws are in. I haven't done them tightly simply because I want to get the glass on, and when the glass is in place, that will then give the exact width for the 2 rails, and then the screws can be tightened up. Now we're going to put in the front wind deflector, hopefully with the little ends that I've re-glued. Hopefully they will hold and do their little swivel job that they need to. Then it's on to the curtain. Now I've already put the curtain into the original Mercedes tray plus the 2 ends. I'm hoping this is going to work. This spring has got a few buckles and bends in it, and I'm hoping it'll still work. Unfortunately, it's happened on both sides. Long story. Let's just see if I can get it in. Now, it really should be quite a simple thing to get the roof curtain back in place, but when you've mucked around with it a bit and it's kind of not in the shape that it really should be in, it's proving to be a little harder. I'm going to undo the motor so I can slide these forward. Even though they're in the original position, I need this forward so I know that it's not going to fall out. It's too risky. There is a recalibration procedure, so it should be fine. Now this took far longer than the footage you're seeing, even though it's sped up. There's a lot that I just didn't put in. I mucked around with this roof curtain for ages and it took a lot of time, and well, I'll just leave it there for now. I got the other side in okay. I've got to have the slack here first to give me the movement to lift this up. Now to get this straight. Get the guide in. Once that's in, take this forward. Oh, like so. Hopefully that is the curtain. The two little guides on each side of the plastic are in place. These are the original Mercedes ends. The under tray is the original. It's just a new curtain we've adapted. Got to be honest, people, I'm lacking a bit of confidence in this curtain. Right, at the moment, it's get the wind deflector in. Hopefully that doesn't break. And then get the glass on, and I'm not sure if I can do that on my own. First of all, I'm going to put in the springs on the sides. These go in. This is how this goes in. Actually, it slides and sits there. There's nothing. This needs to point upside down. I can get that to go on. Yes. I can get that side to go on. I can't even see it. Oh. Oh. Oh, please go on. Yes. That one's hanging on. And this one is broken, I'm sure. Yep. Damn. Now, as for the tiny little clips that hold the sunroof curtain into the sunroof curtain rail, we have these little clips that I put in right now. If you've seen the last episode, these came out and we had major dramas. There is supposed to be a little clip just in this gap, but both of them broke off. So, how do I prevent them from coming out and causing the problem again? Well, if you're a bit of a hoarder like me, you keep lots of tiny little things like tiny screws. Now I've already gone in ahead and put one in just there. That should prevent the clip from coming out and we should be good to go, I hope. Desperate times, desperate measures. Now, you may laugh at what I've done here when you see the final what I've done, but you'll understand I just can't afford to go and buy a new one of these, so this needs to be done. It's kind of a little bit crude, but it's going to work, and I'm pretty sure it will. So I've drilled a hole through, and now there's wire there. I'm going to put this tiny piece back in place, and then wire it together just lightly so it holds it in place. But unless something's there, unless that C-shaped clamp is there, this thing will just move forward and it'll just be wrecked. So it needs to be held in place, and I would hate to imagine what one of these costs to replace. Now look at it. Neat, clean, out of the way. Now it's going to clip all of this back into place. Wind deflector is now all clipped in, all good. Now, just got to put this cover plate over the sunroof curtain. This is very fragile. I have had to glue this end. Hopefully it'll just stay all together when I clip it in. Well, it broke trying to put it in the bit that I had previously glued, so I'm just going to try and glue it now that it's in place, and that's probably the best way to do it. So I've just had a brainwave. Everything is now in. I've just tightened the screws up reasonably tight. I've just put the motor to the sunroof curtain rails back in. I think I'm just going to try and just test it out, see if things move and move freely, because they obviously didn't before. So before we put the actual roof on, I can see if these actual mechanisms move, if the back rails lift up and go down. I mean, they're already up. Just see that everything works.
And I'm glad I made the decision to do this, because straight away it wasn't working the way it should have. One side was working independently from the other one, and then they started to work together, but they weren't working exactly at the same time. So I'm going to have to look at this further and work out what was required. Now, I did this for quite a while. This wasn't 2 minutes, because I wanted to see all the actions and whether the starter sorted itself out or not. Now, I can do a calibration, but I think the glass needs to be on top to be able to do it.
Okay, so they're not in sync, and that's fine, but I've noticed this. If you'll see on this side, this is correct. This is supposed to come up against this. This side is not doing it. It's back here, and it should be up here. When I put the cables in, I wasn't looking at that. I didn't have this pushed onto it, so I need to take the motor off, get that forward with that one, and then they should be in sync. I have got said rail out of the car now. So now it's a matter of pulling it apart, checking out what's going on there, and then getting it back together and getting it back in the car.
Now, because I've already pulled a couple of these apart and put them back together, I now know how to pull them apart and put them back together. A tiny bit of plastic came out, which was leftovers from the previous parts that were in there. So once it was back together, it was all good.
Everything's been out, fixed things up. I've now adjusted the heights of the rails as well to be the same. I pushed them all forward, I put the motor back in. Now we're just going to test that everything works the way it should.
And as you can see, these are now working completely syncopated together at the exact same time, which is a great result.
I'd say that's a win. Key's just gone off.
Now, this is the curtain back in now that the two rails are back in place. Now, I don't have the springs in properly, and I worked it that it was not going to work. Now, here they are in properly, but the actual mechanisms that go into the rail where it joins the springs, it just wouldn't hold it.
I've taken the curtain out to do the little fix that I had in mind. Once I got the curtain out, I realized it's pointless, and I will show you why. The curtain works off of this acting as a spring and it wanting to curl up inside itself, because the actual rod inside is just a hollow tube. That doesn't retract it. This does. This is the actual spring, and as you can see, this thing here is just not doing. Lifting that up, that should just curl away. Now the problem is, when I first got it, I was trying to look to see how it worked, and of course I pulled it out and then it all curled up on itself, and I was like, ah, that's how that works. But then trying to straighten it all back out just completely stuffed it up. It ended up all wrinkled, and as you can see right there, that whole section that I need as the last bit to be rolled in, it just won't roll in because it's lost its springiness. So that is basically stuffed. So the end result is I'm going to have to order another one, as painful as that is, because the curtain's there, everything's there, it's just it won't spring in because the spring is now not springing. So that's the end result. If you do this yourself and you're going to put in the curtain, don't pull it out, just get it straight in the car. And yeah, if you find it's got a curve, it's supposed to have a curve. So I'll get that on order, and we'll now get on with the rest of the car.
Whoa, look at the state of that all the way around. That is cactus. Whoa.
Wheels are off, it's up. Now we can see what is going on. I have no idea what this is here or why it's on there, but it's something has rubbed itself onto here, and it's not off the back of the wheel because I've had a look. But it is certainly a bit of alloy. So I'm not sure where that came from, but that's no offer there, and that's the tiniest bit on there. So that's all good. This will all get a clean. I see absolutely nothing wrong whatsoever with the suspension. Nothing at all. So once it's all cleaned and we've got all the front end done, it'll go back down. I'll do the old press test, but I've already done it. There doesn't seem to be anything wrong at all. So all this is going to get cleaned up. We'll have a quick look at the underneath as well. Right here is a broken part out of the wheel arch. Unfortunately, this wheel arch is one piece, not like the C200. We had a section at the front, a section for the back. This is one entire piece, so I need to speak to the inspectors and find out if that is going to stop it passing its inspection. Straight away, this is the very front middle part of the bumper. This one here is bent up. This one is just about broken off, and there is a curve right here. So when the bumper's off, we can staple this, we can put the heat gun on it, try and get this flattened back out. There's a lot of rough spots here. Bad scratching, which will sand a lot of it out if we can. And on this side as well, there's a lot down that edge. And right under here, right here is supposed to be the under tray, which is broken off right across. And this is what I do have a new one off, so that's all good. So whatever it's hit when it had some kind of an accident, or it's a bit low, so going over speed humps and stuff, rubbed that side. The same on here. Notice straight away too, this cross member here has got some tabs, like this one here. This one here has been hit, it's been bent up, so we'll have to get this off, heat this up, straighten that out. That's not a big deal. This has a loose sound, so there's a heat tray sitting on top of this, which we'll take this off and we will see what's going on there. That might just need to be stuck down. There's lots of bits along here that just need a really good looking at. All those broken bits have got to come off, so we'll get it all off, get this whole front end off, because the bumper's got to come off anyway because it's got to be repaired, and we can keep going from there. But on the driver's side of the car, everything seems fine. Brakes are going to get a clean up, calipers will get a clean up, otherwise everything's pretty good over here.
So under the front, and let's get this done. There are rivets in that hold the bumper to part of the plastics. They've all got to come out. Well, so I thought at the time, but they've come out. So they're drilled out, and then we need to get underneath and remove all the bolts that don't need to be there, that also hold part of the bumper to the underneath plastic. Now we're into the side of the wheel arch. This is the left-hand side, because I will need to get the wheel arch lining out. So after taking out the plastic nuts and then taking out these couple of rivets and then this rivet here, which then holds originally to the bumper, I could then get on with the rest of it.
That. This is supposed to be attached to the inside of the front part of the bumper here, and all the rivets have broken off, so hopefully that is all okay to literally just be riveted back in. Hopefully the tabs that they actually rivet to are inside and okay.
Now it's just as well I've got little Bowen here with me, because he's being a super help. See? He knows exactly what to do. He's got the bag there, and he knows he's got to put the bolts in the bag. This is taking off the bolts that hold the bottom part of the wheel arch lining to the underneath of the car. So this way, this will now allow us to get the wheel arch lining off, and this is the last plug.
Yeah. That's the big one.
And I've said that to remind myself later when I go to put it back together.
Okay, that should be all of this loose and can come off.
Now to the two bolts that hold the fender to the bumper. Out they come. Pass them on to Bowen so we can get them into the bag.
Okay.
And then I can get the actual bumper unclipped.
Let's get the fender off. This is the fender bolt on the inside. Weirdly, it's not fully up against it, so obviously it's not supposed to be.
Now, it actually wasn't a bolt, it's a nut, which that came off. It's a 13mm, same as these two fender bolts on the top. Both come off. Now, there is also one more under this trim here that also has to come out.
Said bolt.
And then we're going to get down and get the wheel arch lining out, because there's still another bolt that can only be accessed once the wheel arch lining is removed. And I might as well remove all the leaves while I'm at it. Here it is, another 13mm bolt on the inside, which is now out.
Working on the second Mercedes-Benz, and I need to use my little tool that takes off the clips for the side skirt. See? Don't throw things out, people.
Now, I'm only showing you that I've taken 2 out, but I actually took out 6 of them along there, which allowed me to be able to take this out of the way.
Yeah.
Now, you're going to be really, really careful here. I don't have spares to be able to replace any broken parts, so I'm trying to be as careful as I can. 2 more 13mm nuts, and that should be the fender ready to come off.
1, 2. That's ready to come off.
Nearly there. Now, there are T25 Torque screws along the front, covered up by the weather seal here, which simply pulls off and gives us access.
Now, I've never taken one of these off before, so I've got to be careful with what I'm doing to make sure I don't break anything.
Disconnect the battery. Disconnect the battery.
Because I've seen something that I've known from other videos, I've got to be really careful with.
We've disconnected a parking sensor here, and this here is part of the crash detection. It's joined to a little tube just above it. That's why the battery needs to be disconnected.
Now, that wasn't a parking sensor, that is the air temperature sensor. But after undoing all of those clips, the bumper was off.
Woo! That is it. Bumper is now off, fender is off. We've got full access to see everything along here. There's no damage at all to the crash bar. I didn't think there was because none of this was damaged, but it's still good to have it off. A bit of foam bit that came out literally went here. There's one on the other side, so that was easy to work out where that went. Ta, Bobby. And now we can get through, we can clean all this up, get the stuff out of the oil cooler, the radiator. There's a few broken bits on the back of the bumper. So we've got to get the under tray that comes off of there, because they're actually, it's held on by a few rivets in places, and then it all goes on as one piece. Well, that's how I think it goes on anyway. Maybe it goes on first and then you rivet it on after you get the bumper on. So, let's keep going.
Let's quickly look at the fender so you can see exactly how much we need to fix up. This is where it meets the bumper. This is the original line. It's pretty good there. Curves in ever so slightly, which I believe it probably should. Ever so slightly. And then it starts waving all over the place. Especially here, it's really out. Comes back here to what I think looks like its original shape. Buckles out again and then starts to straighten up. There's a couple of little one spots here. And right down the bottom, where it joins the sill, is straight again. This is the other side, and this is the spot that I said really sticks out. And this here just plays with this level of the tiniest amount. So when this goes in, if we do it correctly, that should bring that back out.
Now, if you've seen the series on the C200, you'll know that I'm not a panel beater, but it's something I'm really interested in doing and learning. So, the same as the C200, these are aluminium fenders, so I know they've got to be heated up carefully, because these are painted and I certainly don't want to wreck the paint. So I'm heating them to a point where I can feel it, but it's uncomfortable to touch, and then slowly manipulating it with a mallet not a steel and hammer, but I am using a dolly on the inside to help put it back into shape. Now, it didn't come out badly. It's certainly a lot more for me to learn, but that'll come with time.
I've done what I can. I'm not a panel beater. Obviously, over time, hopefully I can get a bit better. I'll pick up more skills as I watch things online, or if you are a panel beater and you can give me some tips, then I would love to hear from you. It's definitely better than it was. Let's have a quick look. On to the bumper. This is the new under tray part that goes here, where the mass majority is missing. This part's missing. You can see there's quite a bit missing when you put this next to it. So we've checked this out and it is the right one, so that is good news. So we'll have a really quick close look at this and then we will get this stripped, because it's all going to come out for me to be able to give it a rub back, fix up the spot that has severely been grazed with some bumper body filler, and then we can then give it some paint and then rear clear coat the entire thing. So come on in, Jazz. There's parts here all over where the rivets have come out. This is supposed to be riveted to this, it's supposed to be riveted to the bottom of the bumper and riveted there. So this side is like just hanging on by the bottom. This sensor right at the front has just unclipped itself. So mostly it's good, but this tube here, I'll have to find out what the exact name is, but this tube is a very, very sensitive and important. This is designed so that when it gets squeezed, it then sends a signal and that sets the airbags off. So we've got to be really careful when taking that off. Get this entire thing stripped, get everything out, and then put in what is supposed to be back in place. I do have some rivets, the same ones that are required for this, and then we can get on with getting it fixed.
Now, you've probably seen a stack of videos out there with things being stripped before, so I don't need to overly explain what I'm doing, but I do have to be careful with this tube. Now, I said it sets the airbags off. What it actually sets off is the two hinge parts of the bonnet that actually presses up. That is for pedestrian safety. So, this is two parts of the under tray, which are now in pieces, which can be thrown out. More rivets have to be drilled out to start separating everything, and this I really do have to be careful with. It's actually one piece in the middle, and there's two small sections you can see are like hinging off themselves, but they do actually interlock and all make one unit. Now, I'm not going to take the tube out, I'm going to leave it in place. It's better that way. Now that that's safely removed and out of the way, it's time to take out the parking sensor harness. Now, I've done this on the C200, so I know exactly what to do. Now it's working out how the rest of these trims all come apart. And I'll be using this footage, obviously, later when it's time to come to put it all back together. It's a satisfying sound, all this clipping.
Another bit. Right. This is the main grille. Just big clips everywhere in there. Let's see if we can get this off. One A250 grill off. We're just down to this part here, which is proving to be a little difficult. There's the two outsides, and there's also a black trim on the insides, very small.
Now, after 12 years, I thought this plastic might start to get a little hardened, but the clips that are holding this in were still fairly flexible, so it came off pretty easily.
Two separate bits. This grill is separate to the back bit, which we will pull apart later because it's all dirty on the inside.
So it's just the ones that are painted that are going to take out, which is like that one there, and not the one next to it. So the ones that are painted are joined to the actual bumper. Okay. This grill has a really skinny part which sits inside the outer skin of the grill, and there's lots of little clips in there, and that's that comes off with it. Yes, that is better. Okay, you see these three bits at the bottom here broken. We're going to see if we can rejoin these. Obviously everything will get a really good clean, and then we will work out how it actually goes back in. We'll put a hot staple on this, put a heat gun on it, straighten it up. Same with this down here. Two more things to take off. That is this little trim here that is clipped in. One of the clips came off when we were taking the bumper off because it was already half hanging off. So we'll take that out, and then we've just got the number plates to come off, and that is stripped. I can't take these off. These are hot, melted in, plus they're part of the very front, which means they need to be sanded and all done at the same time. Let's go. Oops. That wasn't supposed to happen. That's how. Oh! So there's two separate ones either side. I'm just going to see if I can. In fact, I should, while it's clean, glue it immediately.
It is the best time to glue something back together when the cut, the break is straight away, because it is the cleanest. This is the actual trim on the other side, just so you know exactly what it is we're taking out. Now, two screws take out what is the license plate holder on the front, and then there's two clips on the back of that, which then release it. Now these are just two screw grommets which aren't even being used, but I'll put them back. And this is the one I just showed the screwdriver running over. All out in one piece. Now, I wasn't expecting this Mercedes badge to be this hard to come out, but...
Badge out, nowhere near as good as the C200 because, yeesh. Just clips in nice and easy. This is different.
Now, I was wondering what I was going to do about this, because, well, it's actually only tape. I thought it was painted on, but on a closer inspection, it's literally just some tape.
And the more that it's been in the sun...
So, that'll easily be replaced. Well, I say easily, I just got to make sure I can find some more. But the part that had been sitting in the sun the most had faded, and the tape had hardened up, and it was literally starting to look very ratty. And I just didn't have the patience, so Jasmine stepped in and finished the job off. Now, using one of the best tools I've ever bought on AliExpress, and that is this hot stapler. Bit of Gorilla Glue on first, and then using 3 staples which I shaped to follow the contour that I was stapling, and it worked a treat. Now this particular spot here, I didn't take this trim off because it's actually part of the very top, and you can see here where I've just zoomed in, this is actually supposed to be plastic welded on, but it's just literally let go. So in more with a couple of hot staples on this side and on the other, because both sides had come away. And there just wasn't a lot of plastic welded there at all. So maybe this is another common fault. Now, I'd pointed out earlier that there was a curve in the bottom of the bumper, so literally getting out the heat gun and just using a couple of pieces of wood to help straighten it up did exactly that. And then this broken bit, I did exactly the same. I probably heated up just a fraction too much because it actually semi-glued itself with just the heat. In with some hot staples to ensure that it wasn't going to come off. Grind off the stems, heat it up a fraction more, put it back into shape, and that is that job done. Now, to make sure it looks as good as it can when I put it back together, even though you don't see these parts, I want to make sure that this thing is clean. Now, that red part I just took off too is actually painted. It's not taped, which is excellent. So all of these trims, bit by bit, get a bit of a good cleaning over, inside and out. Put to the side so they can dry off. Using a brush where some of the stuff was dirt was really built up, and then using a sponge otherwise just to give it a really good clean. Obviously, when it came to the grill, you really need to get the brush out. Now I'm going to need to get a pipe brush to be able to get in there and get it a lot cleaner, because it really does make a difference when it is all cleaned out fully and properly. Getting down to the last of the trims, because I had separated them, and now we're down to the very last one, the grill. Job done. Now this is the front part, the lowest part of the bumper. You can see right here that I'm pointing to, there is a lump there. There's a couple, and you can see from the front of it where it's been hit. So that needs to be addressed. And I'm going to do exactly the same as we just saw before by heating it up. Now I'm going to be careful not to overheat it, especially on the front where the paint is. So making sure there's just as much heat being applied underneath, and keep testing the plastic so that it doesn't become too flimsy. And then when you know that you've got the right kind of flexibleness, you can then start pressing it in, because it cools down reasonably quickly, and especially now that it's winter, it's cooling down really quickly. And you can see here now, that is a lot smoother. It's back into place.
Okay, that is the bumper off. We've got the fender off. We've also stripped the bumper. We've cleaned all the parts. Now it's time to start sanding and getting it body filled, getting all cleaned up, ready for paint. Now I need to organize some paint, make sure I've got enough clear coat, and then we're also going to look at the disc brakes, clean them up, make sure all the wheel arches are clean. I think I will order a new one, wheel arch lining for the passenger side, because there is enough of it broken off that will make a difference. So I think we'll get that on order. The curtain is on order, and we'll get onto all of that in the next episode. So please like, please share, please subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.